Well, Network Rail has been branded misguided after an Islamic message was displayed on the departure board at London's King's Cross station as part of a diversity initiative. The information screen showed times for sunrise and sunset prayer times and read, "All the sons of Adam are sinners, but the best of the sinners are those who repent often." Well, Clare Muldoon is with me. She's a broadcaster. And I also want to, just before I go to her, I want to thank Christian McDonald, who's been in touch on Twitter, who says, "Station info boards, your opinions are irrelevant and information is intended for the public and should not be used for personal political statements." Well, I wonder, Clare, what you think of that.
Well, I actually agree, and I think this is one of the only times, Peter, where you'll ever get me to agree with any of the secularist or humanist movements in this country, because I don't think that religious meanings, religious motes, religious tropes, religious anything should be railed out, especially not in places of public interest and public pathways and public infrastructure and publicly funded buildings. And, you know, I was very interested to see that Network Rail, in the response, this is quoted in The Independent today, they said that we celebrate all the big religious festivals from Christmas to Ramadan at King's Cross to reflect completely what you've just said, actually, Peter, our diverse passenger and employee base. Now, I'm sorry, I have never, ever, ever seen a crib or seen a crucifix for Easter, a crib for Christmas, at any of the stations that Network Rail own or actually work with. So it's just absolutely an absolute anathema. I don't understand it and I don't get it. And I think it's fundamentally wrong.
I agree with you, Clare, and I think that a lot of this is trying to be relevant, trying to be politically correct. And I am not religious, but I know a lot of people who are, including you, Clare, and a lot of my family are very committed Christians. I know very committed Muslims as well in my circle and so on. And they don't want this. It just seems to me, anyway, and I wonder what you think, to be kind of virtue signalling, actually.
It's completely virtue signalling. And to be honest with you, Peter, I think that's the only form of signalling that Network Rail are able to do at the moment.
Maybe it would take a
divine
intervention to make the trains run on time, Clare.
But, well, this is my other point. Maybe they're praying to Allah, you know, to enforce like the stop of strikes, for instance, over the Easter period, or even for the trains just to run, which would be perfect.
Maybe they should focus on that.
They absolutely should be focusing on that more than giving different times. And the other thing that I've got about this is, I mean, Sadiq Khan has not said anything. I want to know who actually signed off on this to make it a thing. Imagine the thought process and the meeting that was had over coffee, over whatever. Well, I'm presuming it was a Muslim member of staff that wanted it, that suggested it, and then they'd be fasting anyway during this time. But the other thing is, we don't want to be London-centric. The whole thing about TalkTV, about other news works, is that a Network Rail travels the length and breadth of the country. But the times that were put up are only times where sunrise and sunset, the call to prayer, and they're specific to London.
Yes, of course, and lots of people going in lots of different directions in that.
Exactly, in the train.
I wonder if you, Clare, as a Christian, feel we'll take the religion out of this essentially for this question, but the Islam or Christianity or Hinduism or whatever. Do you feel in public life that actually Christianity is under attack?
I think Christian life is being, and Christians have been diminished in stature, diminished in numbers, diminished in their faith. I don't think there's enough support. Local churches are feeling the brunt of the effects of the lockdown, where people couldn't go to the places of worship to worship. Do I feel they're under attack? Yes, I do, because we are a very secular society. And this comes from a very left-leaning position, because you're all things to all people, and things should be watered down. And if you practice your faith, then there's something sometimes wrong with you. And that's the way the media and that's the way society is sometimes making people who have faith feel, because it's the wrong type of faith. We found that with transgender issues, with gay and homosexual issues, with LGBTQ+, the flags and everything. It is virtue signalling to a certain extent, at the cost of and at the expense of people who have faith and people who feel they have a moral compass, and also, Peter, people who feel and do have a voice. They feel a lot of the time that their voice is not being heard.
Well, Network Rail might say maybe
railroaded.
we're giving these people a voice by putting tracts of text and they're putting religious messages out there. What do you think of that argument?
But listen, no, I don't think much of that argument at all, because it is a public place, and I think it is divisive to put any religious notes, as I said at the beginning of my piece, religious notes, religious tropes, anything at all about that. I mean, even now, Network Rail have got the cheek to say they admit and they acknowledge Christmas. Well, I'm sorry, they don't. It might be a happy Christmas, but it's bordering on now happy holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so American. That's nothing about Christmas. That's
totally agree, Claire. We've got to remember
the
name of the name of these festivals and keep Christ and Christmas.
It goes in the name, Peter. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Clare Muldoon, broadcaster, thank you very much indeed for joining us.